Even with its warm tone and homely decor, it feels cold. There's no need for tears, however. I know I can get through this like every other obstacle I've faced before. This is a minor setback in what I hope will be a long and happy life. To remind myself that this place is for Luke, and for our future children fills me with a renewed vigour. Besides, it looks like someone's having a cry already. What? I can barely hear the... The wailing is far away and muffled. Yet at the same time, it shakes me to my very core as I hear it. Oh my god, I'm getting the shivers again. The willies. As if the suffering is just standing right beside me. Hearing it sends a chill down my spine and makes my skin prickle with goosebumps. Who is that? Oh shit. Curiosity sinks in as I follow the sorrowful sound into the kitchen. Holy shit. Okay, first let's clear this. Luke, we've lost a bit of relationship with. Oh god, I have to read this while listening to that. Oh my god. During supper, Hannah found Luke drinking absinthe, and this caused an argument. While Hannah was angered by her husband's drinking problem, Luke was suspicious of his wife's activities, having not seen her the whole afternoon despite finishing Luxury Living's interview early. Then, there was this crying woman. Shit. And into the wine cellar hatch! Why? No. No way.
Hello? Is anybody down there?
Why would you say that? This is your house. I'm curious and concerned, but there's no way I'm going down into a dark and humid underground. Thank God. I'm not as enthusiastic as Luke, who considers himself quite the connoisseur. However, I also cannot bring myself to go to bed with this racket going on. If it is one of the household help, they will surely need some talking. After all, this wouldn't be the first time I've gone and found one of the maids sobbing their eyes out over one thing or another. As professional as our staff are, they are still human. More often than not, it was either Johannes or I who calmed them down, who'd help them figure out how to go on about things. Unfortunately, I'm not in high spirits right now, so I'm not as wholly benevolent. So I'm not opening that. I'm not opening that. Call them out. I knock 3 times. Waiting for any sort of reply yields me no results, and I've already touched the floor hatch far too many times than what I'd like. I take a deep breath before reaching out again to whoever's inside. No, I said don't open it! Unless you mean, like, by voice, then that's okay. I've learned from experience that people respond better to kindness than threats. Shouting angrily would not help in coaxing them out.
You, in the cellar? Do come out. We don't want Luke waking up and finding you in there, do we? That man would go ballistic thinking someone was trying to steal his precious wine.
Still nothing.
You can have a good cry. Just not in there, yes?
I'm so nervous.
Why don't you come out here and we can have a cuppa and you can tell me all about whatever it is you're bawling about?
With how long I'm standing here, however, I'm starting to think myself as a fool. I did not want to acknowledge the other feeling I have, especially as the wailing took an eerie turn. The thought of being played with didn't sit too well with me, and I had to stop myself from getting too hot-headed as I try one more time.
Now you come out of there! That is an order from the lady of the house, do you hear me? Why, I ought to...
I freeze as the hand clamps down on my shoulder. A hand clamps down on my shoulder? The dread I've been feeling all this time makes itself known as I kneel, unmoving, not even daring to breathe. I can feel my heart pounding against my chest. But the touch is gone, as quickly as it has seized me. Oh, fuck. Johannes! My god. It is only Johannes when I look back.
Apologies, madam, for touching you like that.
Do you want to bloody call yourself out first?
You were not responding to my voice, and you looked about ready to wake the whole mansion up.
I'm sorry. I was getting rather loud, wasn't I? But that crying woman in there, we must do something about her.
He grows silent for a moment and just looks concerned. At least I'd like to interpret it as concern, given how stoic our head butler usually is. Or rather, it must have been concern, as he takes off a glove and presses the back of his hand on my forehead, for his worrisome inquiry.
I beg your pardon. What? Crying woman?
Yeah, exactly. Great.
Are you feeling well, madam?
In the cellar? Can't you hear her?
Madam, Hannah, no one is down there.
What?
The cellar is locked. Only Luke and I have duplicates of the keys. Nobody is down there.
I stare at him in disbelief. But when I listen once more, I hear no crying. Tugging at the hatch for good measure proves his words to be true, too. Okay, so I guess I couldn't have opened it anyway. The thing won't budge unless I had a key, short of using power tools on it.
Perhaps it is time for you to go to bed, madam.
Perhaps.
You are simply tired and hearing things, a perfectly normal human experience. But if you are still experiencing auditory hallucinations in the morning, you are free to consult with me.
There's a cold feeling in the pit of my stomach as he helps me up to my feet. What he says makes sense, and who am I to question someone who used to be a doctor? I'm just tired, that's it. Long day of moving, an interview, dealing with Luke. That has all drained me of any proper sense.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I just need some sleep, that's all.
Of course I'm right. Go on then. Gute Nacht.
Good night, Johannes. Good night, house.
Oh god. Don't wish the house good night. It's just fatigue. That's what I keep telling myself, although I can't ignore the strange feeling in my gut. Either there's something wrong with this house, or there's something wrong with my head. Sleep will be elusive tonight. Okay, we're good. It's Friday morning. Not that we're safe in the daytime, but still. It's more comforting, at least. Luke is already gone by the time I rise. There isn't a single hide nor hair of him to be found, and trying to call him on his mobile is a bust, as it only goes straight to his voicemail. That's twice in a row he's gone on me, and for him to disappear today of all days is very bit upsetting because of what's to come. The morning's once again filled with a whirlwind of activity. Okay, sorry, let me get my timeline bearings straight. We're on Friday the 28th. So Isabella and everything, that'll happen on the Monday. Hope she's okay. She's the one I'm worried about the most. She's awesome. Fortunately, I'm much more refreshed as I took a break from my responsibilities. I haven't the faintest clue where Luke was yesterday. Today's going to be a busy day, although unlike Wednesday, the master of the house isn't here right now, absent once again from his duties. Hopefully he'll be back in time for the party. This is our house, after all. A grand housewarming party for the wonderful Wright Mansion. Every person of importance from Luxmorn is invited, and there will be a few guests flying in as well. Of course, there will be some people from the media, along with friends and acquaintances who are made no less important, regardless of their status in society. Marianne and I will discuss business and last-minute touches to the house before finalizing everything. Not that there's much change from our original plans. Bar any huge additions to the property itself, the mansion is nearly 100% complete.
You have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Well, I can't take all of the credit. People have certainly been enthusiastic about the idea of working on the Wright Mansion. There won't be any more problems unless Mr. Wright has any more objections about the second bedroom.
Luke and I had a small tiff about making the second bedroom into a child's playroom, which I insisted is completely practical. In the end, he had to acquiesce. I can't even say the word, oh my god, sorry. I didn't give him any choice in the matter. I even bought this wonderful wooden crib from the antique store yesterday, including some toys. Just in case anyone brings their baby, of course. Besides, we have little need for actual guest rooms. We hardly have guests who spend the night. If we absolutely have to, we often choose to foot the bill for their visit in one of the hotels instead, always at Luke's own insistence. And, on the off chance that we actually let someone stay, the bedroom in the opposite wing is still up to the task.
Oh, no. We proceed with that room as planned. I already agreed to him having his greenhouse and his vineyard and his stables. He may as well let me have this one thing.
At least we didn't get the helipad. No, I did not agree to... No, I did not agree to him having a helipad.
All right, then. Well, do we have any other concerns? Anything we need to put on our agenda before the party commences?
Yeah, just crying women and things grabbing me from behind and photo lenses.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Hannah, how could you forget?
Not unless Luke has anything else to say.
Is he around then? It'd be best if we can note down his request right away considering the scope of his usual ones.
Around? No. Where is he? Who knows where? I don't.
No, he's not around.
She didn't have to point out the obvious now, did she? After 7 long years, I've already gotten used to him. I should be by now. Still not, apparently.
But don't you have a party?
I want nothing more than to complain, to whinge about how unfair this is. However, airing out one's dirty laundry is simply taboo among high society. To do so will make you a ripe target for the next dinner party chit-chat. Vultures, the lot of them, really. Well, most of them, at least. There are always good ones like Rochelle Lee, but put your trust in the wrong person, and you'll find yourself eagerly picked apart.
Yes. But Luke's just being a sweetie, you see. That friend he's visiting, he's having marital problems and he's just trying to cheer him up.
Perhaps I'm being a bit too rash, a bit too hot-headed in divulging details, but I thought myself clever with the plan to dress it up as gossip. Marianne's raised a brow makes me unsure whether she's interested or not, although that does make things better if she has no interest, and therefore has no hidden intent to utilize whatever I might say to her.
They've been married for a long time and they've hit a... how do they say it? A rough patch. His wife has a drinking problem and can be very neglectful. The poor thing really does his best to be a good husband. But it's never enough for her. Sometimes I think it's the years. Maybe it's been so long that they've lost that romantic spark. What do you think?
You were asking for my personal opinion on the matter, ma'am? Do you want me to be honest, or...
Yeah, of course.
Be honest with me, Marianne. I don't need someone to sugarcoat it.
Real talk. Oh, look at that extra boost.
I'm not some fragile thing that I'm just going to break down at the slightest thing.
She's tougher than she looks. She hesitates, taking a sip of her coffee while I stare into my own cup of tea. The silence stretches on, and I almost believe she'll never answer my question. I suppose that I shouldn't blame her, putting her in a tight spot like this. Her hesitation is understandable, though I loathe to admit it. She simply wants this whole thing to stay professional. But then, she speaks.
If I'm going to be completely honest, I need to ask. This is about you and Mr. Wright, isn't it?
Oh my god, how did you know? Got me. It's my turn to hesitate now. I really didn't expect such a straightforward question. And to get to the heart of the matter, I suppose I'm not as clever as I'd like to think. Or is it really that bad that an outsider can see our little marital troubles? Surely we aren't that obvious, are we? We've put up an act of a perfect couple for years, although it hadn't always been an act. Marianne is just more keen than the average person, of course. It is a necessity to her career, and she's been working so closely with us. Yes, that's it.
Suppose it is. What would you tell me?
Then, I tell you it's none of my business. I tell you that I don't want to meddle.
Safe option, well done.
But, if the troubled husband with the neglectful wife asked me for my honest opinion, I'd say that he shouldn't base his happiness and his self-worth on someone else. Someone who won't even give him the time of the day. Maybe he should try being independent for a while. See what it's like when he isn't trying to please someone else and doing things for himself. Everyone's supposed to be their own man or woman, right? A bit of breathing room never hurt anyone. That's just my 2 pence worth, of course.
So you're saying they should divorce?
Nothing as drastic as that. If they're afraid that it might lead to just that, then maybe that is what's meant to happen in the first place. We shouldn't let our fear control our lives, but it's just a short hiatus is all. Or, couples therapy? Look, I'm really not the best person to ask about relationships. So grain of salt and all that.
She trails off, having said her piece. Oh shit, I've adopted her Irish bloody voice again. It leaves nothing but the smell of coffee and Earl Grey between us. There's a calm, despite the nature of what has just been discussed. To say that her words make me start to think is an understatement. To say that I'm not considering her advice is a lie. And to think that this might be the calm before the storm is a possibility. Others have had shorter marriages, yes, but plenty have celebrated long, and happy ones as well. My own parents celebrated their choral anniversary before they passed away. But 7 years. 7 years isn't a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It isn't a whole lot of time to see what and where a relationship can bring us. And at the same time, 7 years, well, it hasn't been entirely made up of unhappy years, has it? It won't last forever. It's not supposed to, anyway. I just dread the thought that it might last for a very long time. I dread the thought that these small spats, these little disagreements, will all turn into an all-out resentment. The idea that we will grow to hate each other with every fibre of our being scares me. I can't even pinpoint the exact moment when our blissful union turns sour. We can get through this, right? I know that I still do love him, and I feel that there's still a part of him that loves me in return. We just need to get our heads together and talk it out. Surely he will see some sense. There's a cough before Marianne clears her throat. I must have been quiet for so long, and I move to apologize when she stands up. We both end up on our feet, unsure on how to proceed. Some sort of odd, awkward shuffle occurs as we decide whether to sit back down or not.
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party? Oh, you really must, Marianne.
I'll try to stay and chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy, busy, busy.
You must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least. If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
We'll see. So, if I can be excused?
So certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive, because believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
The scene outside the parlour is a great organised mess. Let's check out the journal. Hannah and Marianne were seen discussing the mansion's finishing touches before the housewarming party. On a whim, Hannah asked for Marianne's opinion about a certain couple having marital problems. It leaves the former with something to think about, after the latter excused herself from attending the party. Aside from our own household help, we hired the service of the temp agency, which provides staff for Wright Enterprise in the hospitality sector. Even our very skilled staff cannot undertake a party of this size on their own. Waiters, busboys, hostesses, and their staff captains move about in droves, carrying crockery and serveware good for several dozen people, and then some. Chefs and bartenders tail after Johannes, looking like scared little children as he escorts them through the kitchen and into the wine cellar, to peruse the stocks, to select what can be served at the party and what can be used for cooking.
Schnell! We have a lot to do, and I believe we did not hire snails. Snails are for the dishes.
A string quartet readies up to play for the evening, tuning their instruments as they fill the air with idle chatter. Floral decor worth thousands fill vases, wreaths and baskets, while petals are scattered along the driveway up front. A nice sculpture of a reindeer is brought in carefully by a pair. It's not Christmas, can't have a reindeer just yet. It's followed by a simple cake, just a 5-tier white chiffon one with white chocolate mousse, fresh berries and a light dusting of edible gold leaf. You know, your run-of-the-mill cake. But despite the fact that I told Marianne how I'll attend to all of this, I find myself unable to focus or care for any of it. I still have our discussion running in my mind, and looking at all this, I only see Luke everywhere. These are all the grand things that Luke wanted to have for the party. I had wanted a small, elegant and simple gathering, with only a select few invited, namely the people who I'd actually trust to enter my home. I did not want any bloody politicians or paparazzi in here, no matter how used I am to catering them.
At least be here for your party. Damn it, Luke.
The entire thing screamed Luke Wright, and I can't help but add another question to my growing list of queries. When did I lose myself? It's always about him nowadays, isn't it? What about Hannah Wright? What about Hannah Evans? I used to be my own woman, who made her own name, her own career, and her own decisions. Sure, I was already the social butterfly that I still am today, but it wasn't all empty, shallow gossip and sitting pretty. I was also lauded for my knowledge and talent. Finance manager wasn't just handed to me just because my father owned the company. I had insisted that I start at the bottom so I could work my way to the top and prove myself. And I did. I worked numbers, managed budgets, money and accounts, analysing the competition and market trends. There was the calculation of financial risk, cost reduction opportunities, auditor liaison, and public relations, supervision of staff. It's scary that I know all of that, but I'm no finance manager. Well, I generally had a huge slew of responsibilities. Admittedly, I was already quite the attention seeker even back then, having dedicated most of my youth craving for my parents' approval. Failing that, I turned to others, looked for praise from anyone who would give it, however fleeting it all was. And Luke? Oh, Luke. The way he looked at me, the way he watched me and took a genuine interest. He had me disgustingly obsessed since day one, hasn't he? He saw me for me, Hannah Evans, with both my faults and my achievements. The man didn't treat me like some damsel in distress, or some prize to be won. I remember the nights, before we were married, where we talked about everything and anything. From big things like business, society and philosophy, to little things such as what we had for breakfast and whether we liked cats or dogs more. We both prefer dogs. Nowadays, I'm just Luke Wright's wife. It's mostly my fault, isn't it? They told me that husbands preferred wives who are docile and subordinate. A woman who will always be there for him, yet would never outshine him in all aspects except beauty. A wife needs to be at home and attend to his needs, to have children and to take care of them in his absence. They said I have no business working anymore after I was married. I can blame society. But I listened. Before I can fall further into this introspective pit of self-loathing, someone calls for my attention.
The guests have arrived, madam.
And Luke?
Running a bit late, I'm afraid.
Late for his own party. That man, I swear. He's probably looking to make a dramatic entrance, knowing him.
Well, we don't have a helipad for him to land on.
Open the doors, then. We mustn't hurry.
Cars line up the driveway, peppering the front of the mansion with vehicles of every kind. Grand Tourers, supercars, even the odd high-end muscle car or two. Convertibles, grand saloons, and other luxury cars can be seen, being parked by valets. A handful of cabs drive off, possibly for those who thought it too troublesome to bring their own cars. probably intend on getting smashed in the alcohol as well, I guess. There are at least 2 different media vans as well. They're all here for what may be considered the biggest year of the event. Biggest event of the year for Luxbourne. So far. Who knows what we'll plan for the winter holidays?
Welcome! Welcome, everyone! Please, make yourselves at home!
Some of the guests idle, enjoying the warm, if not strange sunshine we're experiencing, before gloomy skies inevitably return. They greet acquaintances and friends with warm smiles, others less so. From where I stand, I can see the hierarchy of power, the ties that bind these individuals here, whether through convenience or necessity. However, there are also a few who are not here to further cement their current place in high society, such as that young man with the oriental hair, ignorant of the looks he receives from women and men alike. Hello.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Or that rose-haired woman talking on her phone, while she looks unsure of why she's here exactly.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
Uh-oh, we're all gonna converge here? I see Zachary, the photographer as well. He talks to a few of the other media crew with an air of familiarity.
I was just here a few days ago, yeah. And the inside is huge, but the staff are pretty helpful if you get lost.
I'd invited Father Norman too. It's the least I can do after he blessed my mansion on my request. Aside from my small donation to the church, of course. He must be the guy that we could have met if we wanted to, as Isabel, but we chose to go for the professor. But the poor man had taken ill and went through a nervous breakdown of some sort the other day. And then there are people like the chief inspector, people who I can never be too sure about, people who stand on the border between being suspicious and being trustworthy.
Thank you for the invite, Anna. Husband still missing, I see?
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee. The doctors again?
She told me she'll just be in the gardens. I bet she's lying and that she's somewhere around mingling, gossiping with the other ladies. It's no offense, but that seems to be all you ladies do at these parties.
And aren't you gossiping right now?
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
Man, I hope he's not missing, actually. That never crossed my mind until now. That freaking ghost could have gotten him.
He's around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing. Don't tell me, let me guess. He's finally drunken himself to death and not wanting a scandal, you've hidden his body. I was wanting to give this housewarming gift to him personally, too.
It's not absinthe, is it?
It's a plate that holds a wine glass so he can stop killing himself with liquid lunches. Looks like it's too late for that.
Nothing like that. Besides, this is a hardly polite conversation.
Oh, relax. I'm just trying to be cheeky to lighten the mood. It's not like I want Luke dead. The man doesn't serve dodgy plonk like the others when I visit, and he pays his respects well enough. I could use a glass of wine or 3, actually. Rochelle's been in a horrid mood. Threw her stilettos at me the other day and almost took an eye out. Not sure if this is how it usually goes, but I blame the pregnancy.
I wouldn't know, would I?
Still no plans for a baby? I guess that's for the best. If it's this bad now, I can't even imagine how bad it'll be when that little baby bump becomes huge.
How rude. Hey, you don't just ask a woman when she's going to get pregnant. And second, what are you trying to imply, Officer Lee? Have I mentioned how I don't trust him, no matter how hard I try to do so? At least he brought a gift, I suppose.
Why don't you just go inside and have some wine, Lee?
Think I will, thanks.
Greetings such as these carry on as the guests continue to trickle in. Whether we have short conversations or merely shake hands and nod heads, I make sure to attend and welcome each of them. As the first hour passes us by, the rest of the stragglers and I adjourn to the ballroom. Any latecomers will have the attention of the porter instead. Oh man, where's Isabel? She didn't turn up. I have other duties to attend to now. Hosting parties is always the same old song and dance, no matter how big or small it is. You make sure your guests are well fed, have good company, and have them generally enjoying themselves. So when my opening remarks are done, when the band has started to play, and the guests have started eating, I find myself wandering around aimlessly unless I'm pulled aside. For a while, I stay with a small group and entertain them before excusing myself. And when they're not anymore watching me, I end up watching them. When they don't listen, I do. A local banker is having trouble with his daughter. He wishes to marry her off, but she wants nothing more than to make music. One of our hotel managers worry about the stolen belongings of one of his patrons, a failing in security which should be brought up to higher authorities soon. Our mayor, well, his cat died. And then there's this rose-haired woman once again. It's hard not to notice her with her distinctive locks. She also lacks the grace that the other ladies have, though that does not make her any less beautiful. Her stance and the air she exudes instead are strong, and they make her stand out despite her casual attire. Many men have already given her their attention, though each invitation to dance has been turned down. I approach, intrigued, although it is no great mystery what occupies her attention, with the glances she keeps sending towards the boy with the oriental hair. Yeah, figured. She remains unaware, though, even as I stand beside her, pretending that I'm there for a drink.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this, fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
The boy comes over, but I do nothing to speak any softer. Oh god. He merely passes by, and it's a wonder he doesn't hear what I say.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend, then? Because that would explain those rejections.
In all my life, I've never seen a face grow red so fast. The shade of her hair didn't help as well. This is the most pink I've seen on a person, really.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Nanny here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
It's more the latter currently.
Oh my.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
I waver as I feel the burning of someone's stares. It is chilling, and though I'm used to enduring the gaze of others, this one makes the hairs on my back of my neck stand up. No! Why are you here? My attention is pulled from the girl and I see a woman staring. Dark-haired and dirty, she looks more like a beggar than a guest, and I have half the mind to call the security at her when her mouth breaks out into a grin. All I hear is her laughing. Taunting. Her stare makes my blood run cold. She looks at me like I'm nothing but a pig to slaughter for her amusement. It makes my hand shake that I nearly drop my drink. See, I was so nervous just reading that because of the frickin' face, man. It just gets to me. But then in a blink, she's gone, and the buzz of the party returns.
I'll keep that in mind, but... Are you alright?
Yes, sorry. I just thought I saw something strange. It must be the trick of the light. Anyway, on a right, as you must already know.
Rebecca Gales.
Gales.
The name is familiar, like a fond memory. I recall a kind lady, a private tutor who treated me like her own daughter when I was young. Reunion. Ooh. We must know each other, sort of. She'd even bring me food when there was no need to do so. Usually stovies, which I honestly hadn't been too keen about, though I ate them nonetheless because she brought them for me.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way. But yeah, that's me. Little Becky. We met once before.
Yes, oh, I remember you! You were the cutest little thing with glasses! And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A. What was it again?
Really?
Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
The more I list off names, the more red and more quiet Becky gets. She starts to look a little bit miserable, as her body language shows discomfort and still stiffness. Perhaps I've triggered a horrid childhood memory. Surely I hadn't been mean when she visited with her mother. I don't quite remember all of it.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one.
Wow, it's been that long? Oh my.
Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone with an earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
And a tad bit sad.
This is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Please, Anna's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
You're looking for something?
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
Oh, sorry, no, never mind.
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales.
That's not what you meant by it. That's not what she's looking for. In terms of relationship, not just looking for an object.
And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best.
Exactly, Becky. You gotta make a move. Otherwise Isabel's gonna snatch him up.
If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hope you have your epiphany real soon.
But what do I know?
There's a grimace, although she starts to relax around my presence. How long has it been since we met as children? Certainly a long time. She was tiny back then, if I recall correctly.
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about. But have you told him how you feel? And it's been what? 20 years?
20 years. 20 years. Becky, what the hell are you doing?
17, actually.
Okay, that's just as bad, okay?
But no, not yet. He can be a bit dense. I was hoping that maybe he'd notice on his own and...
Oh, that's a cop-out, Becky. You can't hope for him to notice. Us guys, you know, pretty oblivious.
Well, that won't do.
Can't take hints, man. You just gotta tell us.
What if you two become husband and wife? He's not to be dense when he's sworn himself to another person. Why, you might just as well consider leaving before the day's even begun.
If that happens, I'll have to give him a good ear bashing, won't I? Whoever anyone ends up with, it's not going to be a perfect relationship anyway. There's going to be things you'll love and things you'll hate about the other person. We're just humans. It's funny. Here I am, trying to give you advice when you did the very same thing back then. I remember you giving me a makeover when we were still kids. And you were the first I told anyone about my... crush.
I do remember now that she mentions it. Did I give her that yellow summer dress? Or that pink blouse and petticoat? She must have kept some of what I said in mind. It feels ridiculous remembering all of that years later, talking about boys and how they go crazy for pretty girls, as if it's some gospel every woman should adhere to. It was so easy to say such things then, with me not knowing any better. Though, looking at her now, she must have kept some of what I said in mind. Perhaps I did say something good at the time, enough for her to take it to heart. But all that didn't matter in the moment as I mull over what she just said in my head. What Becky told me is very different from what Marianne told me. There is no time to ponder over that, however, as a hush descends upon the once lively crowd. The music of strings and the chatter slows to a grinding halt as the doors from the foyer opens.